President Jacobson, and to all the members of the Hobart and William Smith Colleges community, and especially to the class of 2020. It is a privilege to be able to just send a message of encouragement and congratulations and thanks. To thank you, the graduates, the class of 2020, for having to do what many of us did not have to do. You've had to bear some burdens that you never anticipated. You've had to learn online in ways and for purposes you never dreamed. And you've had to have a commencement not in person. For that, for your faithful and indeed somewhat courageous way of engaging this moment, that we might help to be part of the help and healing for the world. I thank you. When I was in high school, just a few years before I enrolled at Hobart and William Smith Colleges, I worked as a volunteer for then Robert Kennedy, who was running for the U.S. Senate and then later for the presidency of the United States. I didn't have a high position. I licked envelopes and rang doorbells and knocked on doors. But I did my part for a cause that I believed in. In that time, Senator Kennedy often quoted the words of George Bernard Shaw, giving them new meaning, maybe not what Shaw originally intended, but giving them a new meaning and a new context. The context in which a nation was at war, a context in which the cities of our country were burning, the context in which the racial divide was widening, the context in which poverty was nowhere near history, but a bitter reality. It was in this context that he often said over and over again, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not." Why not a world where poverty actually has become history? Why not a world where preventable suffering and disease, where it's always prevented? Why not a world where every man, woman, and child, no matter who they are, is seen as a child of God, as seen as one created in the image and likeness of God and of infinite value and worth and dignity? Why not a world where love is the logic behind every law and the libretto of the way we live our lives? Why not a world, as the Hebrew scriptures say, where every man and woman sits under their own vine and fig tree? Why not a world, as the old spiritual says, where we learn to lay down our swords and shields down by the riverside and study war no more? Some folks see things as they are and in despair cry out, "Why?" But I dream things that never were and ask why not. I am mindful of the fact that the people who have actually made a positive difference in my life, and I believe people who have made a positive difference and contribution in the life of the world, have consistently been people who have dared to live the question, why not? And turn it into an exclamation. They have been the people who have not settled for the way things are. People who have been convinced that, as Dr. King often said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it is bent toward justice. People who actually believed that what the Bible says, that God is love, means that love is the law behind every reality in the world, and that this is fundamentally a moral universe. People who have dared to ask the question, why not a different world? Why not a different life? You are not having a physical commencement because, again, we must ask the question, why not? Why not a way to prevent the spread of this disease? Why not a vaccine? Why not equality and justice for all? Why not caring for this creation in which we live? Why not? When I was, I don't know, a little kid in elementary school, I suspect, I remember going to school, and my father asked me if we were going to get our medicine today. And we were, and I said, okay. And he said, are they going to give you the little sugar cube? And I said, I don't know, I guess so. And as it turned out, they gave us, we got some shots and that kind of thing, but they gave us some kind of medicine on little sugar cube. I didn't know why he was that interested in that or why that was of great significance until many years later. He had a stroke, and he did recover from that stroke with some disability, but he did recover. But when he had the stroke, and after the physicians performed surgery, I was in the ICU unit with my Aunt Carrie, who was one of his sisters, the one who was closest in age to him. And we were just in the ICU unit, just kind of standing with him and talking to him. And at some point, my Aunt Carrie pulled the sheets back on the bed and began to rub his legs. And then she started to sing, and she sang, old faith songs, Amazing Grace, and that there is a balm in Gilead, nearer my God to thee. And she sang, I knew all those, so that didn't surprise me. But she kept rubbing his legs. And I finally asked her, I said, Aunt Carrie, why are you rubbing your legs? Rubbing his legs. And she said, well, this is what Mama used to do to him. And I asked something like, well, why did she do that? And she said, didn't you know? I said, no, what? Didn't you know that your daddy had polio when he was a little boy? And I said, no, I didn't know that. He never talked about it. But he walked with a limp, and I knew that. And then when I looked back and thought, and now when I think about it, I realized why he was so interested in that little sugar cube with medicine on it. Because there was someone named Jonas Salk and someone named Albert Sabin, two physicians, scientists, and researchers who developed effective vaccines to prevent the spread of polio. They did that because they dared to live the question, why not? Why not a world where children are not crippled by polio? Why not a world where diseases that can be prevented are prevented? My brothers, my sisters, my siblings, my friends, I invite you, I implore you, I beseech you, let this commencement commence your commitment to be why not people, to live lives that dare to dream dreams, that dare to hope against hope, that dare to stand for ideals and values and principles like love and justice and compassion and kindness, to dare to ask why not and dare to live it. Oh, some folks see things as they are and ask why. May the class of 2020 dream dreams and ask why not. God love you. God bless you. And may God hold us all, the entire human family, in this whole world, in those almighty hands of love.